Hello, my name is Marcia Bedasse and I serve as the Dean of the School of Education and Behavioral Studies. Today I'll be talking about environmental education and its impact on students. When I think about the environment and education, immediately this quote by Aristotle comes to mind. Those who educate children well are more to be honored than they who produced them, for these gave them life, those the art of living well. When we consider educating well, we often miss the opportunity to bring learning to life for students when the focus is on educating only in the traditional classroom setting. Learning the sciences, mathematics, literature, and the arts can take on new meaning for students, especially those who are at risk of failing, when we extend the class to the great outdoors. Studies on the impact of outdoor learning and student achievement have shown a direct correlation between experiencing nature and academic success and emotional and physical well-being. In a 2022 study published in the Natural Medicine Journal, researchers found that among students who experienced outdoor learning, there was an increase in teamwork skills and enhanced social behavior. In addition, students developed greater communication and critical thinking skills. The study also found that students who were considered hyperactive or inactive were better able to focus, and there was also a decrease in mental health struggles and peer-to-peer problems. And students developed a greater sense of belonging. From my own experience as a K-12 teacher, when I engaged students in outdoor education, not only was there an increase in environmental knowledge, but students also thrived academically and socially. I remember a time when our third grade class was working on calculating the area of an object. They could recite the formula and the steps used in finding the area, but had difficulty applying that knowledge. So I took them outside to the bus loop and worked in teams to demonstrate the areas. So I took the students outside to the bus loop and they worked in teams to determine the area. What I found was students collaborated well with team members. They checked in with each other and with other teams. They shared information and they celebrated success. Another time, we had the great pleasure of going out into the backyard of our school that was fenced in, where there was a huge pond. An alligator came up to the fence and visited, and as students wanted so much to see what was happening, we went outside, of course, taking safety precautions, and they were able to observe, watch what was happening, question things. And when we went back to the classroom, I had never seen such excitement in students in wanting to write, have discussions around things scientifically as never before. This was a lovely learning experience for them and something that really motivated them in ways that were quite different from just learning from the textbook. On the surface, this may seem like a normal story, but our class was anything but normal. Students who had been retained multiple times were in this class. There were significant behavior issues, and that year we had great academic success. But more importantly, socially and emotionally, students grew beyond expectations. In elementary school, our daughter's class would go to the Flagler Museum weekly for writing. And generating ideas to write about is sometimes hard for young writers, but in that environment, it was not hard or difficult for her or her peers. There was a huge poetry on the property, and my childhood home had a row of majestic poetries right outside my parents' bedroom. She had fond memories of those trees when she visited that home, and it brought back memories for her about what she could write about. We can never underestimate the impact that this type of learning can have on students' lives. In 2023, National Geographic Education posted a story on Juan Martinez. Juan grew up in the city and was at risk of failing high school science that would impact his ability to graduate on time. He was given two options: join the school's eco club or fail the class. And of course, John joined the club, which exposed him to environments in ways that he could never have imagined. Juan took advantage of an offer to go on a field trip to Grand Teton National Park, and that experience encouraged him to begin planting and harvesting his own produce and ultimately changing the trajectory of his life. Juan is quoted as saying, "For a kid who always considered anything outside the city to be some made-up fantasy like TV or Hollywood, it was a life-changing experience. For the first time in my life, I saw more stars than I could count. I saw free-flowing rivers. For the first time in my life, I had a good night's sleep. There were no sirens or cars." Juan graduated from high school and in 2011 was the first in his family to graduate from college. He currently serves as the Director of Leadership and Development for the Children and Network Association, where he works to provide students with the same environmental experiences he had as a child. Just as the impact of outdoor learning can lead to sound academic success, it can and should have an impact on how students interact and engage with nature. Going back to Aristotle's words of educating well, we should be encouraged to teach students to have an appreciation for the environment and live in ways to care for it. Psalm 24:1 says the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And Genesis 2:15 tells us that God put Adam in the garden to work and care for the land. I remember when our daughter was in the 4th grade, we picked her up from school, and she noticed that the area across from the school was being cleared and all the trees on the land were cut down. She was appalled and questioned why this was happening and why it was being done. This opportunity provided me a chance to talk to her, have a real conversation about balancing the need for housing and preserving a forested area. We must have conversations with our young people and help them develop an understanding of the impact of humans on the environment. So when it is their turn to be decision makers, they will make good ones. You know, it is not easy to care for the things that you have no knowledge of or that you lack a connection with. There are so many programs, both nationally and in our own city, that teach our children and young adults to care for their environment. The Solid Waste Authority on recycling and waste management, John D. MacArthur Beach State Park that has field trips for K-12 students, and the South Florida Water Management District with programs on the Everglades and water conservation are just a few. The indoor classroom has its place, but equally as important is the need to get students into the outdoor classroom. It is just as important that we not only develop their academic, social, and emotional skills, we also must teach them how to be stewards of that which we did not and cannot make, that which is a gift to us.